Do you remember your remarks on the floor last year when you brought this up?
You'd have to give me a specific. I mean, I made a lot of remarks last year.
So I recall a story you told about your brother.
Okay.
And I remember you said that your brother called, or that your mother called you, I believe, to tell you that your brother had some news that he was afraid to tell you.
Okay.
And your brother wanted to tell you that he was gay, didn't he?
He was expressing that to the family, and he thought that we would hold that against him and not let my children be around him.
Why do you think he thought that?
I don't know. It never would have happened. I'll tell you that. My kids at that point in their life adored my brother.
Can I tell you, if I were your brother, I would have been afraid to tell you too.
Well,
I would have been afraid to tell you too because of stuff like this. Because this is what you're focused on. This is the legislation you want to put forward. This is what consumes your time. I would have been afraid to tell you too. I was afraid of people like you growing up, and I grew up in Hickory County, Missouri. I grew up in a school district that would vote tomorrow to put this in place. And for 18 years, I walked around with nice people like you who took me to ball games, who told me how smart I was, and who went to the ballot and voted for crap like this. And I couldn't wait to get out. I couldn't wait to move to a part of our state that would reject this stuff in a minute. I couldn't wait. And thank God I made it. Thank God I made it out, and I think every day of the kids who are still there, who haven't made it out, who haven't escaped from this kind of bigotry. Gentlemen, I'm not afraid of you anymore because you're gonna lose. You may win this today, but you're going to lose.
Hello everybody, it's Jeff. Had a great week or so since I last did a video here. It's nice here today, sunny and not cold. It's actually kind of warm. Didn't even need my coat to go outside. I was just in a short sleeve shirt today and sunny all day. Can't ask for anything better than that. Hope we have a lot more days like that when summer comes around. Certainly had my fill of rain. They've already had to mow the grass twice here. So unless you've been living under a rock here today, you probably heard about Politico releasing a story that they heard a rumor that the Supreme Court justices were talking about abolishing Roe versus Wade. And it was only an opinion that was talked about in there, but it's not an actual thing that they're going to do yet. Okay, I don't know if they're going to or not, but the subject was flown around as they were discussing this. Now, Politico got a hold of this talk, and they made a story about it. And now the Supreme Court is all pissed off, saying who leaked it out. That we were, it's like, listen to, we're not talking about, who exposed somebody for throwing a rock at a car here. Okay, We're talking about women's rights to their own body. And it's just that the women and the country, okay, everybody is concerned about where they're going to go on this, okay? Because for 50 years, it's been the law of this country, Roe versus Wade. And they're, and we're waiting with bated breath on what they're going to do with this law. I mean, are they going to overturn this thing or not? And so if anybody is on the inside and they have any kind of inkling about what's going to happen, they should tell people about it. I don't give a fuck whose privacy was violated. This is information here that's relevant to us because this affects us, okay? It's no different than finding out early that we're going to go to war with another country and your sons and daughters could be drafted. Now, you tell me what the hell is wrong about knowing what they're talking about behind closed doors. I think we are just as much involved in the conversation as they are, okay? Because they're playing with our lives here, okay? They're playing with the women's lives more than anything, okay? They're juggling this shit around, and the women want to know, what are you going to do, okay? And the reason why they're all pissed off over there is because they figure, oh no, they'll spark a riot, before we even make a decision, okay? Because January 6th is still fresh on everybody's mind. Okay, because you can thank the Republicans for that, but they're worried. Now they're going to have to do something about security. So now everybody's talking about this today. All right, and like I said, I don't care that it got leaked out. The fact is, if I'd have been there, I'd have leaked it out myself. So the truth is they did their job. They heard it. Okay, and they don't have to reveal any source at all as to where, who, what, and when they got this information. Okay. Political can sit on this, and they don't have any right to find out who leaked it. Okay, I think it's a disgrace that they're keeping this country on pins and needles for months and months on end, while the individual states are taking steps to do their own thing. Okay, and I think it's wrong that. Even now, they're getting upset because people are hearing what they don't want to hear. And like it or not, the Republicans can say what they want or believe what they want, but the majority of this country is not interested in overturning Roe versus Wade. Okay, this affects Republican women as well as Democrat women. So this is an issue that goes across the aisle here on both sides. And the only people that are egging this shit on are the male Republicans, all right? And they're pissed off at Susan Collins of Maine, Senator Collins, because she said that she was supporting Kavanaugh, and that he wasn't going to do stuff like this, go against precedent, and now he is. Okay, so everybody is pissed off at her, and I think. They're rightfully so to be pissed off at her. I mean, Susan Collins has, I don't know what to say about her, to be honest. I think she's really a hindrance to much of what goes on in Washington. I wish people in this state would vote her out, but it's the name okay? Everybody's afraid to vote for somebody they never heard of or ever seen or, before, but they'll stick with her till she croaks. And that's basically what it is in Maine, is people around here, because this is more of a red state than anything else. And that being said, conservative speaking, people don't like change in Maine. Okay, we are like 20 years behind the rest of the country in this state. All right, I mean, it's pulling teeth out of a dinosaur just to get the internet in here. Okay, but now that we've got it, okay. The young people want more of it, and the other people are trying to find ways to keep the state of Maine held back into the yesteryears. And so they're the same way with Susan Collins. They don't want her to go. She's a Republican, and it doesn't matter to them. If she does anything that they don't like, they're going to keep voting for her just the same because she's Republican. They ain't going to risk a Democrat. I mean, that's how bad they hate Democrats. They're willing to stick with somebody who will ruin their party, okay, in this state, rather than take the chance in doing something good for the state and to hell with their party. And Maine has always been a poor state. It's never been on good terms with at any time period. And even as far back, my mother used to tell me stories about when she was a kid and how it was in the state. Same thing. Yeah, they had better jobs back then, but Maine was always still struggling to balance budgets and all that shit. They never could get that right. Okay, so whether it was a Democrat governor or a Republican governor in Maine, it was always limping along, trailing behind the rest of the country. You know, don't ask me why. It's like I said, Maine is just afraid of stepping into the future here. So there's an article here, excuse me, on Yahoo News, written by Maureen Breslin, and it's from The Hill, entitled Ocasio-Cortez, Supreme Court Isn't Just Coming for Abortion. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Monday warned progressives that the Supreme Court isn't just coming for abortion after a leak of a Supreme Court draft ruling that would overturn Roe v. Wade. Quote, as we've warned, SCOTUS isn't just coming for abortion. They're coming for the right to privacy Roe rests on, which includes gay marriage and civil rights, unquote. Quote, Manchin is blocking Congress codifying Roe. House has seemingly forgotten about Clarence Thomas. These 2 points must change, unquote. The liberal firebrand continued, taking shots at Senator Joe Manchin and Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. A draft ruling on Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court decision that made abortion a constitutional right nationwide, was leaked by Politico on Monday night. The opinion was drafted by Justice Samuel Alito and George W. Bush appointee. The opinion concludes by declaring that Roe and the court's decision in Planned Parenthood versus Casey both have no grounding in the Constitution. Ocasio-Cortez later retweeted a statement from Slate reporter Mark Joseph Stern, pointing to passage in the draft opinion. Quote, Alito's draft opinion explicitly criticizes Lawrence versus Texas legalizing sodomy and Obergefell versus Hodges legalizing same-sex marriage, unquote, Joseph wrote. Quote, he says that, like abortion, these decisions protect phony rights that are not deeply rooted in history, unquote. Ocasio-Cortez ally Senator Bernie Sanders tweeted that he thinks the Senate needs to end the filibuster in order to codify Roe v. Wade into law. Ocasio-Cortez specifically targeted Manchin in her tweet following his previous stance, along with Senator Kyrsten Sinema, to keep filibuster rules in place in the upper chamber. In late March, Cortez and others called on Justice Clarence Thomas to resign or face impeachment for, quote, his failure to disclose income from right-wing organizations, recuse himself from matters involving his wife, and his vote to block the January 6th commission from key information must be investigated and could serve as grounds for impeachment, unquote. The longtime justice faced scrutiny at the time following reports that his wife had aggressively led efforts to try to overturn the 2020 election in favor of former President Trump. And just under that, they have another article here called Theories Abound on Who Leaked the Supreme Court's Draft Decision That Could Overturn Abortion Rights. This is written by Ben Adler, Yahoo News. Within minutes after Politico reported on Monday evening that the Supreme Court was poised to overturn Roe v. Wade, speculation as to who might have leaked a draft of Justice Samuel Alito's majority opinion to the media ran rampant. Decided in '73, Roe guaranteed a constitutional right to an abortion. If it is overturned, abortion will immediately be outlawed in 13 states with so-called trigger laws or preemptive abortion bans already on the books, with another 10 or more almost certain to implement their own bans. Leaks from the Supreme Court, including those regarding forthcoming decisions, have occurred before, but Slate noted, quote, a draft Supreme Court opinion has never been leaked in full in history, and there hasn't been an advance leak of an outcome since 1986, unquote. In a tweet released Monday night, SCOTUS blog, a leading outlet covering the Supreme Court, described the leak as, quote, the gravest and most unforgivable sin, unquote. So who would commit this unforgivable sin and why? Numerous commentators, especially conservatives such as Tommy Lahren of Fox News and Florida GOP Vice Chair Christian Ziegler, immediately surmised that the leak was a liberal effort to save Roe. Of course, they're going to hurry up and jump on that, right? Some conservatives, certain that it was a liberal leaker, became enraged. Matt Walsh, a columnist at the right-leaning Daily Wire, asserted, quote, the SCOTUS leak is an actual insurrection, an attempt to completely upend and delegitimize the rule of law, unquote. An insurrection. He's going to call that an insurrection. Okay. Yeah. Guess he was asleep January the 6th, huh? Another theory posited that the leak actually came from Chief Justice John Roberts or someone aligned with him. Matthew Yglesias, the author of an influential center-left Substack column, speculated Monday that it, quote, sounds a lot like someone from Team Roberts leaking to try to convince the other five that this is too much backlash, unquote. Roberts seemingly poured cold water on this theory on Tuesday when he released a statement saying, quote, this was a singular and egregious breach of that trust that is an affront to the court, unquote, and announcing that he had ordered an investigation to determine the source of the leak. Other commentators, however, think it's possible that the leak actually came from one of the 5 conservative justices on the High Court or one of their clerks who plans to help overturn Roe. There are a number of possible explanations to why. It may be what political strategists call a, quote, trial balloon, unquote, in which potential future action is leaked to gauge public reaction. Elizabeth Sepper, a University of Texas law professor, raised that possibility in an interview with USA Today. Harvard law professor Lawrence Tribe speculated that it may have been a trial balloon from one of the 4 justices joining Alito's opinion, who wants to force him to modulate the strident tone of his leaked decision. One possibility is that someone from the anti-Roe faction on the court wanted to get the news out early in order to soften the backlash by drawing it out over a longer period before the midterm election in November. A related supposition holds that a conservative, perhaps fearing that someone in the majority might go wobbly and end up joining Roberts, is trying to lock the justices into voting to overturn Roe. The idea being that once conservatives know Roe was on the cusp of being overturned, no conservative will want to be hated by their own side for being the one to stop it from happening. A number of law school professors have put out variations of these theories. Quote, is Brett Kavanaugh really going to thumb his nose at the entire right-wing legal world in which he was born and raised in order to go with Roberts' false moderation? Not after the leak, unquote, UCLA law professor Joey Fishkin tweeted. Another variation of that theory is that by triggering apoplexy on the left, the leak is intended to make a compromised decision in which abortion rights are pared back but not totally eliminated, seem moderate by comparison. Whatever the truth of who did it, Americans are seemingly as divided over the leak as they ever are over abortion itself. Okay. So, yeah, it's possible that this was deliberately leaked out by somebody just to test the waters, you know, put their toe in the water to see how the public's going to react if somebody says, oh, it's going to be a complete overturn of Roe versus Wade. I could have told them the public's not going to go for that. Okay, they should have been listening all friggin' winter and all spring about what was going on with Texas and Oklahoma, you know, and all these other red states that were out there trying to stop women from getting abortions. They were creating a firestorm all over the country. What the hell was the Supreme Court doing? Sleeping? You know, were they napping through all this shit? You know, I mean, I realize some of them are pretty old, but, you know, if you ain't got your ear to the ground on something like this, then you're not doing your job. So I think that what they did here was, I think it leaked out, whether it was deliberate or not. The people got in a fit, and it scared the hell out of the Supreme Court. That's what I think happened. The justices got scared because they were afraid that it was going to start a riot. Okay? Well, Democrats don't do January 6s, okay? Republicans do. So if it comes out that they aren't going to overturn it, then they should be afraid of what's going to happen, because they'll be the ones that'll go up to the Supreme Court and throw rocks and beat up cops and, you know, and try to smash in through the front door of the Supreme Court. Okay, that's who they should fear, not the Democrats. The Democrats will be out there doing what they've always been doing, you know, screaming, you know, out at the street level and stuff like that, and trying to get people motivated to get interested. You know, and, you know, just as a side note here, you know, I was watching, you know, All in the Family here, you know, and I watch it a lot because it's funny, but there was an episode on there where Archie and Meathead were fighting, as always. And Meathead had some money that he got from an inheritance or something, and he wanted to use that money to donate to the Democrat Party, because they were running against Nixon. I can't remember what his name was, who was running against Nixon at the time. But he was worried that because Republicans are awash with cash, because they get all kinds of money, that, you know, the Democrats need every dime they can get to try to match that, you know, to get their message out. And, you know, I was thinking, boy, does that sound familiar? I mean, because here we are 40 years later, and the Democrats are still the ones trailing behind Republicans when it comes to fundraising, okay? And in this situation here, where we got this really important thing that was actually back 50 years ago, was actually the beginning of the Roe versus Wade thing. That's what we're still fighting over now. Okay, now we're taking on that problem again, and we're back to where we were then, which is we got to get money, we got to get motivated, we got to get people interested in protecting this thing. Okay, because if the Republicans get their way, this is going to be a midterm motivator coming, you know, in November for people to vote. People are going to be extremely incensed in this issue here if the Supreme Court overturns Roe versus Wade, okay? And I don't know if this is really a smart thing for Republicans to bring up at this point, because they could be the ones holding up an avalanche, but the avalanche could roll back on top of them, because you know, what are they going to do? I mean, they got voters, yes, but there's Democrats always outnumber the Republicans in the voter blocks, okay? So they could be, you know, pushing for another a swamp here that's going to happen, just like what happened with Trump, you know? So was it a wise idea for the Republicans to bring up this thing, or to have this issue going on this year, just before the midterms? You know, and getting this close to overturning Roe versus Wade. Was this really a smart thing for them to do? I don't think it was, to be honest. I really don't. I think this is, you know, if they get their way, they might cheer a victory, but it could be short-lived, because they could lose seats come November. And, you know, the Democrats will have more power over them. Whether or not they want to use it is a whole other issue, But yeah, it's you know, it's kind of weird that, you know, right now everybody's all upset. Some people are saying, let this happen. Let the Supreme Court overturn this thing, so that way the Democrats will come out in droves in November and vote these fuckers out. Okay? You know, get rid of the rest of the Republican nut jobs that are in there. Okay? So these people sideline these bastards, so the Democrats will have it their way for the second half of this administration here, okay? And I know that means sacrificing a right, but, you know, the Supreme Court has already is already looking at overturning this in some way, and they can reverse that later on again. You know what I'm saying? I mean, whatever the Supreme Court decides is not ever set in stone. This is what we're all learning here from this shit, is that whenever they say that, you know, something is law, it ain't law, because they could turn around and overturn it. All right? So even if the Republicans win this thing, it's only temporary until the Democrats can get this undone whenever that happens, okay? And if the Democrats get their way, it's only temporary until the Republicans try this for this shit again, okay? So either way, I don't see that, you know, the Republicans are really going to be happy here. That might give them a short-term victory, but in the long run, it's not going to do anybody any good. It's not going to make anything any better. Women are still going to get abortions. If they have to fly to friggin' Africa to get it done, they'll do it, okay? And they can't stop it. They can't stop it. There's nothing they can do to stop it. Women were doing this even before Roe versus Wade, and they will be doing it after that, even after if it's overturned. Problem is that what's happened is the Republicans have really painted a new picture of themselves that's really, really pissing off a lot of people in America. They're really starting to see these Republican monsters for what they are. Okay, and like I said, some Republican women are not going to be for this. Okay, so they could be looking at exoduses again from their own party. How long do you think their party is going to last if they keep kicking their own voters? Okay, they tell them what they want to hear, and then they turn around and they kick them in the nuts. Okay, this is what they do, you know, and they just bank on the fact that we'll get big money from our corporations and they'll keep us in power. But in the meantime, we can treat our voters like shit. We can lie to them through Fox News. We can tell them we're going to do one thing and then do something else. We can take away their Social Security and make them applaud it. You know, that's what they do. That's what these people do. They continually cut their own throats over there for their own benefit. Okay? For their own benefit. And that's for money. It's always been for money. It has nothing to do with religion or God or all this other crap that they throw at people to make them feel like they're righteous in what they're doing. Okay? It has nothing to do with that. They leave that to the voters out there to spread that shit around, okay? But as far as the Republican Party at the core is concerned, the RNC, it's all about the money, and it always has been, okay? So that's what's pushing this, okay? I think what's happening here is the Republicans, this is a hotbed issue. It's going to get them money coming the midterms because they know they're going to be faced with a hell of an opposition probably, and this issue is probably what's going to drive them to get voters to donate to their party. Okay, I think that's what it is, and that's why they're making this gamble here on winning or losing the midterms over money. Okay, like they don't get enough of it already from their buddies there at Exxon or whatever the hell oil company. Oil companies, plural. Anyway, let's go to a commercial break and we'll be right back.
Dear CEO, what's it gonna take for you to do something? Yeah, do you even care?
Climate change affects all of us.
This is your chance to do something good.
At long last, the glorious invasion of Ukraine begins. Soon, the motherland will take the wayward province into her firm embrace again. Field Marshal Putin offers cheers and many celebrations for American comrades who showed loyalty to Mother Russia. We have much gratitude and thanks for Fox News, most especially Comrade Tucker Carlson. For his loyalty, will receive highest Russian honor, the Order of Lenin. We thank Steve Bannon, admirer and student of Comrade Lenin, who led the Republicans to support of Comrade Putin's plans for Greater Russia. We thank GOP Comrade Senator Joshua Hawley, who blocked enemies of Russia that the warmonger Biden wished to appoint to his regime. Russia waits 40 years for American Republicans to throw away disgrace of Ronald Reagan. Republicans say they stand for America. Comrade Putin knows better.
Important issue in the governor's race here in Virginia.
Getting back to the basics of teaching children, not teaching them critical race theory.
And what is critical race theory?
Well, I'm not going to get into the specifics of it because I don't understand it that much, but it's something that what little bit that I know I don't care for.
And what have you heard that you don't?
Well,
that you don't
like? I'm not going to, I don't have that much knowledge on it, but It's something that I don't care for.
If I'm beaten and raped in the state of Texas, I have to give birth to the baby of my rapist. If I am raped by my father, brother, or uncle and get pregnant in the state of Texas, I have to give birth to the baby of my family abuser. This new law is so draconian that I can be prosecuted for having an abortion, and so can my doctors, friends, and family who advise me, or even the Uber driver who simply drives me to the clinic. This is madness. The same people who have been protesting and screaming, "My body, my choice," when it comes to the COVID vaccine, are now saying I don't have any control over my own body. Texas Republicans won't require a 12-year-old girl to wear a mask in school that may save her life and the lives of other children, but they will force her to keep a baby regardless of how she got pregnant, including rape and incest. I am a woman, and I have a constitutional right to make decisions for my own body. I am a woman, and I have a human right to refuse to give birth to my rapist's baby. I am a woman. This is my body. I am a woman. This is the United States of America. I am a woman. You do not own or control my mind or my body.
My body is my choice.
Shame on the men and women who passed this law, and shame on anyone who sits in silence while women suffer and die because of it.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Hello everyone, welcome back. Okay, so, concerning the war in Ukraine. The European Union is hoping to pass a 6th round of sanctions against Russia at the next meeting of the EU Foreign Affairs Council. That's what the bloc's chief diplomat said yesterday. So they want to continue to pummel Russia's economy as Russia, you know, what they've been doing in Ukraine is hideous. Okay, and I mean, I can't think of a word that would really, you know, fit what they've done, but they claim that they're trying to get rid of Nazism in Ukraine, which obviously is bullshit. But while they've been there in that country, they've been doing things that mirror exactly what Hitler's Germany was doing during World War II. So who the hell is really the Nazi here? You know, I wonder. And, you know, I feel like, you know, hey, you know, it's like when the Republicans are accusing somebody of doing something, they're usually the ones doing it. Okay? They're usually the ones doing it. And so I feel like, you know, Putin's pulling that same shit here. He's trying to tell people that Ukraine is being run by Nazis, and yet his military has been murdering and raping kids and adults, doing, you know, they've been finding mass graves in parts of Ukraine, great big areas that are full of bodies, and, you know, I'm thinking, you know, what's next? I mean, we're going to find that they've built concentration camps and they're burning bodies. I mean, they've been burning bodies of their own troops as they drop, you know, get killed and stuff like that. So I just, I feel like, you know, we're repeating history. This is, you know, from all the times that we watch History Channel and they've talked about World War II till we're blue in the face, until, you know, they've on their last breath, because, you know, we have this fetish in this country to analyze Hitler in every conceivable way. I mean, I think we got more documentaries about Adolf Hitler in this country than any other historical figure that I can think of. Okay, we don't even analyze Gandhi as much. Okay, but Hitler, we have piles and piles of footage of Hitler doing this, Hitler doing that, people trying to figure out what his childhood was like, you know, what he had for breakfast the day he shot himself. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they got every friggin' thing. They made movies about this guy. Okay? Now, that's weird for a country that despises this man, or, you know, Hitler, for what he'd done. Why do we spend so much time thinking about this bastard? You know? Because I think what's happened is we thought about him so much that it actually, you know, impressed some people, some of the sickos in America, to want to think that, hey, you know, maybe, you know, maybe Hitler was doing something right. You know, there's always people out there. There has always been people that thought Hitler was doing something right. Okay. So these people watch these videos and shit, and, you know, they analyze Hitler's strategy and things that he did, and they know more about Hitler's mistakes and successes than the actual generals that were working around that bastard. Okay? So, with all that knowledge about this man, how could we not see what's going on now? How could we not see where this was headed with Russia? You know, with Putin lying to our faces about what he was doing with his whole friggin' military marching towards Ukraine. I mean, he even lied to his own military about what they were going to be doing down there. He just told them they were on an exercise, and when they finally reached the border, it was, you know, move on in. Okay? And so, you know, I'm thinking like, well, you know, we had all these people over here saying, he's not going to do that. No, he's not going to do. This guy's old school. Okay? He comes from that era. You know, of, you know, world domination. That's what the Soviet Union was all about. Okay? That's why they spent every dime they had in that country to building a military, weapons piles and all that stuff. Okay? He still thinks on that level because he was all supportive of it. And so when he saw his country finally fall to pieces, as it should have, because of all the damn money they spent on the military and none for the people, okay, he cried. Okay, the son of a bitch was in a corner crying. And I know he vowed that one day he was going to bring it back. And so that's what he's trying to do now. And people should have realized that, you know, this was a guy you couldn't turn your back on, okay? He may have laid low for a while, but that was all an act. And so that's what we're seeing here. Now, you know, Russia, Putin's mad, and he's responded to this. You know, of course he's heard about the sanctions that'll be coming again. He's threatening the West again of repercussions. Well, you know what? Bring it on, as George W. Bush had said. Go ahead. You know, if you think you got the ability to win that fight, then go ahead and launch. Okay, do what you got to do. Okay, because your threats don't mean nothing. You're threatening a superpower is threatening another superpower. You know. And it's like, we're supposed to be afraid of that, okay? You got all you can do to take on Ukraine. Ukraine is kicking your ass all over the damn country. It's taking you way longer than you thought it would take for your military to take the country, okay? You didn't expect the Ukrainians to fight as hard as they are, okay? Because they love their country more than your troops do, okay? And they're not gonna let you know, these guys, they bring their kids, their families across the border, they turn around and they come back and join up with the military, okay? How many of your troops would do that right now for your country? Some of them have even left your army and went to the other side, okay? Some of them have turned tail on your own military and left, went to the Ukrainians, surrendered, okay? So your military is fighting at half-hearted way, okay, and at the same time they're also doing the most egregious things imaginable to the Ukrainian people, okay, and as they do this, they're only making it harder on themselves, because the Ukrainians are going to come back with as much force as they possibly can in kind to retaliate. So the Ukrainian police are out looking for 10 Russians, soldiers. They call the Despicable 10. That's the nickname. Where these 10 people have done some, you know, awful shit to people in Ukraine. Okay, and they're looking for them, and they're trying to, you know, they want to grab these people, arrest them or whatever, and take them out of the friggin' battle and have them answer to crimes. I hope they find them. I really do. But at the same time, these Despicable 10 aren't the only 10 in the military doing this shit, because the stories we're hearing from the Ukrainians is talking about a lot of Russian soldiers doing much the same thing. Monkey see, monkey do, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you got to remember, you know, some of these people are young, influenced by anything around them, okay? What can I say? They got no self-control, I guess, over certain things, and they just, they feel like, well, if we can kill these people, then we can do what we want with them, okay? And nobody's going to give two shits about it. I think that's how a lot of people feel at war. When you're out there shooting somebody, you figure those people are fair game to any crime I want to commit, and I won't get punished for it. Well, it's true if you get away with it, you know, if they don't find out you did it, but, you know, sometimes they do get caught. Sometimes they do get caught, and they suffer the most extreme of punishments for it. You know, it's happened to American troops when in Vietnam, and it's happened to you know, the German troops during, you know, World War II. I mean, they can't always get away with all these things. They might get away with a lot of them, but eventually they'll get caught if they don't stop. And so that's what's happening now. So I think, you know, they have the faces of these people, these 10 individuals, I guess. So they know what they look like. Now they just got to find them, okay? And hopefully, maybe with the United States' help and giving some aid to try to be able to track these people down. They might be able to get them, but being how they're in the military, the Russian military, they're not going to be able to get them without a fight, and that means it's going to take more than the police to get these people. They're going to have the military, Ukrainian military, backing them up as they get these people one at a time, I suppose. So Putin, like I said, is all mad because now he's looking at more sanctions, and he's threatening to cut off more business to other countries. I'm thinking, what business has he got left that he's doing with? I mean, maybe he's doing stuff under the table, as it were, with countries with oils and stuff, because much of Europe depended on Russian oil, and with this thing going on, a lot of them are not getting much of it. Okay, in fact, the United States has been helping some of these countries out with our own oil, which is why, you know, it's kind of driving up prices for us too. But like I said, they Putin is trying to rattle a saber that's slowly turning into a butter knife because he's got nothing left. You know, pretty much his military is committed here into Ukraine. I can't see him holding back right now. If he's really intent on taking Ukraine, he's not holding back anything. He's going to be putting everything he's got to take in Ukraine. And if he's focused like that on this, then he's wide open for an invasion from another country to go in there and, you know, march right up to Moscow. You know, just like what happened in World War II, you know. But, you know, everybody is still talking about, is he going to use tactical nukes? Well, he probably will. You know, he probably will. But he'd be dumb to do it because, you know, if that doesn't spark NATO to get off its ass and do something about Russia and what's going on, then nothing else will. Okay? Then the Ukrainian people are damned. Okay? The people that left Ukraine will be all that's left of it. You know, that country is going to be nothing but a desert after they get done shelling it with tactical nukes. So, and NATO is going to look, you know, like crap with countries separating themselves from it. And guess what? We'll be right back to the days before the First World War, where every country was for himself, you know. And who knows? Maybe that's the best way it probably should have been in the first place. You know, I don't know how successful things were with NATO around. I mean, we certainly have a lot of wars, even with NATO. A lot of wars sprung up, a lot of fighting, a lot of bloodshed in the world, even when NATO was around. So was it any better than before we had NATO? I don't know. We'd have to ask somebody who was around before NATO was even created and ask them, do you think things were better, you know, internationally speaking, you know, than it was before? You know, I don't think there's any perfect way to try to, you know, bring peace in this planet unless people really want it, you know. But bringing them to the table and trying to make them talk about something they don't want to hear, what good is that going to do? If people are hell-bent on killing each other, they will do it. Just look at Israel. I mean, they don't want to hear about peace. Neither do the Palestinians. They don't want to hear about peace. One side is trying to eradicate the other with any means at their disposal. That's the way it's always been over there. Those people don't know anything about, you know, not hearing gunshots and bombs blowing up. You know, to them, that's every day. They'll be riding in a school bus and watching buildings blowing up around them while they go to school. I mean, that's what they live with over there. You know, that's what they live with over there. And I can't understand why they choose to live that way. You know, has it gotten so bad in that country that they don't know how to put aside, you know, a moment in time where nobody's going to be shooting anything? You know, they can't have this ceasefire for 10 fucking minutes. You know, I mean, is this, you know what I'm saying? I feel like, you know, any country that gets involved with either side of that mess over there really is not doing them any favors, okay? You're better off letting them be reduced to throwing rocks at each other than shooting guns, because what they're doing over there is abhorrent. It's a sign of really, it's a way of measuring where humanity is right now in this world. You want to know what kind of people we are? Go to Israel. Look what's going on over there between the Palestinians and the Israels, okay? That will tell you right now where we are on the evolutionary scale of humanity. We're still in the dirt, okay? We might surround ourselves with all kinds of nifty shit and big buildings and planes and all kinds of technology, but you take all that shit away and we're just as unevolved as the first caveman, okay? We really are. Because we missed something along the way when we evolved. We didn't evolve our morality, okay? We've made laws about it. We try to box ourselves in tight corners to make sure we live a righteous life. But we don't really agree with that. At least a lot of us don't. It doesn't sound like it. Nobody wants to be bound by laws on how to behave in a society. No matter how democratic or progressive that society may be, they don't want to do that. You wrong them, they want to be able to get a gun and take the other person's life, okay? It's instinctive, that's what they want to do, okay? It happens every day in this country, okay? We hear about gun fights between police and this one, and schools with kids being slaughtered. Even our kids are still, you know, animalistic. You know, even our kids are that way. So, you know, what more proof do you need that we haven't really evolved? We haven't even improved on our future generations as America has gone on and on, okay? I mean, they tell us to, you know, you teach your kids so they can do better than you. Well, we haven't done that. We haven't done that. And the evidence is in the pudding right now, okay? You know, the newest generation of kids out there are just as violent as the previous, okay? And they pick up the gun because they were taught to do that by their parents, who were supposed to be teaching them not to put the gun down. No, they were taught the exact opposite. So they're out there picking up an age-old, what do you call it, cause that they couldn't even trace back in the history books where the hell it began. You know what I'm saying? None of these kids could really answer the question, when did this start? And why? They just know that's the enemy and I have to kill that person, you know? And that's the way it is in Israel. In the United States, it's people feeding off their emotions, okay? Which is even worse because with that, it means everybody's a target, okay? Everybody's a target. We got some people who try to limit their target to a certain race or a certain gender or what have you, okay? But for the most part, as kids, everybody's a target. You know, that's why the school shootings, when they fire at people, they just swarm the bullets out at everybody, okay? They don't have any particular, except for maybe a bully that might have been picked on them, but they'll take the other rounds that's still in their clip and empty them into everybody else, you know? But, like I said, if you want to know where the world is right now as far as humanity's evolution, just go to the worst hotspot in the world, which has always been over there in the Middle East, and take a look at what's happening there, okay? And what you're going to see there is essentially where we are at on the evolutionary scale. And I know it sounds kind of dystopian and depressing and stuff like that, but how else can you frame it? You know, sure, I can sit here and say, you know, the future can be better and all that, you know, but you're not going to see it in your lifetime. I'm not going to see it in my lifetime. That future day is going to come, but it's not going to happen tomorrow, you know. And certainly I'm not telling people not to stop trying, to stop, you know, doing whatever it takes. They've already done that, okay? They've already stopped trying. People have already stopped. That's why we're still making the same mistakes over and over again, okay? That's why we're still seeing violence increasing in our country, and why we still can't seem to get a rein on it, because of another form of corruption that's in bed with greed, okay? So, like I said, it's not going to happen. We're not going to live to see it, and that's a sad reality for a lot of us. But, you know, if there's any human left in the future to come, maybe they'll see a better day. I don't know. It may come, it may not even be anything that we've done. It might be something that happened that was catastrophic, and it just gave people no other choice, you know. And I think that's the only way people, human beings, can learn to do anything right, is you got to put them in a corner and you have to give them no choice. You know, it's either you do this or you die, you know. And I think that's the point we have to come to as far as evolution, is every time we come to the precipice where if we go where we keep going, we die, or do we have the balls to stop that and turn around and go back, you know, to another direction. And I think that's how evolution works, is some parts of it, of life or whatever, will die at one point, and the rest, the smarter ones, will continue. So the dummies are still holding us back, okay? And we're going to come to a point where they're going to get wiped out, and the rest will continue on. You just have to be the one that wants to continue on, and don't get locked in with the dingbats out there that want to hold us back. You know, AKA Donald Trump and the GOP, you know, that's out there trying to demonize women and accuse them of genocide. Okay, they'll do whatever they can to keep us holding back, and we have to do everything we can to pull away from them. It's as simple as that. If we want to evolve, they have to be left behind. Holdovers and people that don't want to continue forward have to be left behind. Okay, whatever happens to them, it happens because they led themselves to it. It's their fault. Okay, it's their own fault. We can't be responsible for the actions that, you know, that they take. All we got to do is separate ourselves from them, you know. And that's why I say, you know, about America probably needing to be split, you know, where you got the right-leaning America and the left-leaning America, and that's where it'll decide as to what side wins, okay? Because that's the way we'll know, evolutionary-wise, what'll be around for the foreseeable future. You know, once we cut the fat off America and we put it in its own place, you'll watch them just wither away and die, and that whole cause over there will just come to its end. And then we can bring it back, you know, bring that part of America back into the fold again and continue on. And leaving all this nightmarish Jim Crow crap in the dust where it belongs. So, subscribe and comment, and I hope everybody is keeping their ears open to COVID news, because at least here in Maine we've got an uptick here in people getting sick from it. About, was it over almost 2,000, I guess, 2,000 more cases of it has shown up here in recent days. So there is an outbreak, another wave of this coming out here in Maine, and people need to make the choice of either starting to mask themselves wherever they go, or continue what they're doing and put themselves at risk of getting sick. But if you've been vaccinated, you still don't want to get sick, but because it'll ruin your friggin' year, I imagine. So don't play games with it. You know, don't risk it. Don't tempt it. Don't tempt fate. Just do what's right, especially if you got a family, you've got kids and stuff like that. You know, live for them. Okay, it's hard enough these days to live in this world with just one parent. So anyway, I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. So take care, everybody. I'll talk to you later.